And here we are, it is March 4th, a Tuesday, an auspicious Tuesday, where we are having our final exam for our jazz class. And in the spirit of jazz, the students have prepared a lot, and then, as Charlie Parker suggested, they intend to forget all of it upon the performance. And here is the. Do you have a name for your ensemble? Oh, of course. How else can I analyze this properly? So get yourselves kind of comfortable. Some way that get yourselves kind of comfortable. And as long as you can see yourself, I can see you. Right. Yeah, we'll just make this a little bigger for you. Oh, that's it. So if you can see yourself.
I think it's by Benny Goodman.
Please, don't say it.
Benny Goodman? Maybe. It's just that tune sounds a little bit like. There's a song called Take 5 by David Brubeck. But I think it was just a popular thing to do at that time.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I will not interrupt you. Find myself a chair to appreciate you.
Jam session.
Yes. And
So 1, 2, 3. So hello everyone. Today, as you know, we are having our final exam of Advanced American Cultural Studies music. So we came up with considering music as a universal language and a human creation in which the singers can be able to transmit their thought and their feeling, specifically by creating a piece of music that contains a particular melody or rhythm. So at the beginning of our classes, we have explored the main contributions of with the music and the dance, starting by the 20th century, specifically this period when the music was played by the black bands who were combined by the structure of the marches that were closely to the black songs and dances, as we have discovered the cakewalks that was considered as the dance event in which the black slaves were imitating their white masters. So another contributions that we have explored through attending the classes of Advanced American Cultural Studies music, the main interpretations of African music with the African origins. African origins with American music. So we came up with discovering many styles of music, starting with the ragtime period, and we have seen what are the characteristics that mark this period. So we came up with the new Orlean jazz, and then with the blues, swing, and boogie woogie, and etc. So now I would just like to give a hint of about the structure of our. Yes, so starting with Fufa, she is going to give her presentation. Yes. Then I will give the floor for the next two.
That's better. We have this until the end of the introduction. So, as my friend Miriam said, I don't want to say all of the American musical genres. I would say that almost all of them were influenced by the African. They had an African influence. So as we will see later with Amjad and Fufa, for example, for syncopation, as she just said, all the way the black African slaves used to imitate their masters, like they used to imitate the way they used to walk, but in maybe an exaggerated way. Yeah, that's how we came to syncopation. Another one, the field holler. So we will see this with Angelique. With Miriam.
Yeah.
So I prefer to make it clear now. So we'll start with Fufa. She will present to us the ragtime. Then me will present what the New Orleans jazz and the blues with Miriam, swing with Amjad, and then Rara. And we will all talk about the modern jazz and the cool jazz, etc. And we will end with a conclusion.
If you can tell us about ragtime.
Well, ragtime is a kind of music that was popular between 1895 and 1920. Well, as Zim told us, at that time the black slaves were imitating their white masters in an exaggerating way. So, and the white masters they liked the show and everything. So they started to organize like big shows and like to make them more fun. They needed music next to the cakewalk dance. So that's how the ragtime music first appeared, and that's why many earlier rags are considered cakewalks. And so ragtime is an African American music, and it's maybe considered as a synthesis between no, a synthesis of the African syncopation and European classical music. Well, I have said syncopation. Syncopation is syncopation is means like a variety of rhythms. It is the fact of putting the stress on an offbeat, meaning that the accented note falls between beats, creating a wonderful musical effect. So syncopation just helps us to get rid of the monotonous music, and it gives it like it becomes more alive and exciting and everything. I have mentioned the origin of ragtime music and then the syncopation, and now I'll talk about how did the ragtime music become famous. We all know that at that time black people weren't allowed to mix with the white people, so the ragtime music was played only by black people, and it was kind of limited in small areas. So the black people wanted to share their music with everybody and want to play it everywhere. So they found a way to do this. It was by writing their compositions on sheets. And since the white ladies found the ragtime music really exciting and more entertaining, they started buying those sheets and playing this at home. And that's how the ragtime music and the black culture were spread in the USA. Well, and who says ragtime?
Scott Johnson.
The king of ragtime was born in 1868 with his special musical talent, and with the experiment of ragtime with syncopation, he created magical ragtime pieces like the entertainer and the Macaulay frag, which
We're listening to right now. Yeah.
so that's it.
I just wanted to emphasize the fact that the ragtime was kind of spread because in that time, the Victorian era, it was most about values and everything was so clean, was so steady and strict. And the fact that we had this ragtime, it was appreciated by the ladies who found a way to use their bodies. And movements was so irresistible with ragtime, and that's why it was so appreciated by the ladies. Yes, it was straight. Now,
As we noticed, since she's been talking, she's been saying many times the syncopation. So I think that if we say that ragtime equals syncopation, I think that we can come up with another musical genre, which is jazz. So as I said, if ragtime equals syncopation, jazz equals syncopation plus improvisation. So what is improvisation? So someone can.
well, improvisation would be it would be a spontaneous musical creation.
Yes.
So the fact of creating the music on the spot, but it also can depend on the faulty memory, the fact that you may add things or
Yes, we had an experience
when you
at class,
create.
so
Yes, when you.
yes,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Tell about that
So,
experience.
for example, when I tell her something which happened to me today, and she wanna report it to another person, I can say that she will for sure maybe forget a few things and add a few things to complete the story. I mean, she's not doing it on purpose. She's not lying or anything, but that's our human nature. That's our human faulty memory. So it happens this way.
So we can say that faulty memory is another part of improvisation.
Yeah.
So it is, in general, it is a moment. It is a moment. We create a moment that it is based on what we have learned already.
So does it mean that they didn't have any sheets or anything?
No, the fact that they had things in their minds, and then when they appear in front of the audience, they can improvise if they forgot.
Yes. So
they forget something.
I think that it I have my own personal maybe explanation, but I think that as we saw, we had like a multitude of instruments with jazz. We had piano, guitars, we had the trumpet, we had the clarinets, all these instruments. So what I have noticed that when they were playing, we had like a group, and when all the people were playing like maybe the background. I don't know which is what the technical word is, but they're playing the variations and there is always one person who plays the lead instruments and who plays a solo part. So it happens at the same time. I think that person is the one who is improvising. That what makes it different. That makes it beautiful. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, well,
Yes.
it's still, but improvisation would be. I think it's kind of collective improvisation at the same time.
Yes.
So we're creating the music that would appeal to the audience. The solo will do maybe leading the group into a session of improvisation session. Yes, right.
So the improvisation was at that period in a collective way. Anyone can improvise.
Yes.
But later we will find a kind of soloist improvisation. We will see it between.
Yeah.
So what I noticed again. So when we had these people they were all playing and the other men playing alone, and that's maybe the common response we can find in the again African culture.
Yeah.
Plus another like when we're playing these two things together, when we're having the first guys playing and the other one playing another melodic line, it's again the European influence. But yeah,
Which is qualifying.
That
was the great influence of the European. So beautifully, we can say it is a term that describe a texture of two or more simultaneous lines of an independent melodic or music. So this is just to say that jazz was, and it combines two influences. One is African contribution, it was rhythm and this call and response thing.
And then the harmony of melody, harmonic structure is coming from European. And it's polyphony, one melody is responsible for another two lines, or two or more melodies in the music. So we have two kinds of
So we can
influences.
say that it's the result of two cultures, maybe the European and the African in American culture.
Those were the main cultures, but there were other cultures. But those were the main. Not the voodoo, no. I mean, people from it's not about voodoo.
He's talking maybe about other cultures.
Yeah, Africans, Americans, and people coming from a near country, Haitian people also had some influence.
It's just to say that I mean, like the spirituals or the origins of people is kind of influencing to the music that is played around. So it's and New Orleans, maybe I'm not going to talk about. It was a mixture of cultures, so it was easy to get influenced by
yes.
those cultures.
Rana reminded me that I need to tell you something, which is that jazz came mainly from New Orleans. We call it Dixieland jazz. That jazz was played, had its origins from the funerals, parades. When what's crazy about jazz is it's combining two different keys. Like we had a major and a minor key. With like for example with the funerals, we had people who went like really sad to the funeral, and they were coming back. They had to listen to a music which is going to make them feel more happy. That contrast between the extreme joy and extreme sadness that created the major versus the minor key. That again one of the characteristics of the Dixieland jazz.
Maybe you can tell us also about how did it spread? I mean, it's coming from New Orleans, but how did it spread to all America?
It happened in Starville. It's this great in which we could find prostitution, like prostitutes calling for men. And we had some soldiers come in, like they want to enjoy their being in New Orleans, so they would go there, and that had a negative effect on their maybe contribution to their work or on their.
Because it was a war time, so they needed all their energy.
So they used to be there, and they don't have energy to fight again. So who was behind jazz spreading in Lower America? It was Josephus Daniels.
Not a musician.
Not a musician, but that was the Secretary of the Navy. He was responsible of this because when he saw his soldiers coming really tired from Starville, he was really upset and wanted to close that Starville. When he closed it in 1817, we had all. Well, I forgot the most important thing.
Story that it was all about jazz music.
Jazz, like when musicians wanted to create that beautiful moment with their music, so they used to play their music there. So when Starville was closed, these musicians had to spread to find a job. Like they wanted to. That's how jazz spread.
And there is, I think, in some books or articles you find that Storyville or Congo Square, it was called Congo Square. Yeah, it was blacks were stopped from playing music there because they were establishing themselves as well. That's one of the possibilities. So their music was spreading step by step, and the authority didn't want those blacks to establish themselves early. Maybe that was another cause.
I think also the depression that hits the entire world, and specifically the music, with the music as well. Many band leaders, such as Louis Armstrong and Louis and the Duke Ellington.
Yes.
Those band leaders decided finally to leave the country for the Europe. But except for Benny Goodman, he decided to stay in his country, and he finally um, find employment in the staff region. Then he became a popular musician.
Benny Goodman was considered to be the king of swing at that period, but he was white. I think that's why he found his opportunity to reach fame. But before him, there was Ellington and Duke. They found some problems. Maybe.
So I think that was about New Orleans jazz.
Yes, I just want to say one thing that we can notice that maybe a lot of musical genres have disappeared, but why not jazz? I think I have like maybe one personal point of view. Maybe because it was each time updated to what people want. Maybe, for example, when we had the modern, when we will see the modern jazz, when we will see swing, which are different ways of playing jazz, different kinds of jazz. Maybe jazz was the only. I don't want to make it like.
Yeah.
But
I think you're trying to say that the evolution of jazz is what makes it like stay and not disappear. And it all started with syncopating. We started with changing the thing in order to make them exciting.
It's all in changing.
It comes with the changing culture. Anything is changing actually. So
But
if
I have another idea about this. I think that those black Americans or the Africans who came to America played music because they were they played it not for the sake of commercialization or something. They played it with their feeling. That's why I think jazz promoted and developed itself and became so famous because it's played with
that's
lots
the
of
word.
feeling.
feeling, since you mentioned feelings, we can move to another type, which is blues.
Which was all about
feelings.
feelings.
Can you tell us about it?
So what we can say about blues? Yes, it's good to hear you. So what we can say about blues? Blues is an African American music style. It has been originated in the Civil War when the black slaves were working in the plantation fields, and they were like participating in kind of call and response songs. So what happened of course with those generations of black slaves, they were who never learned how to read or to write. So we can say that they were not allowed. So poverty as a way of life. We can see that black slaves were like they have learned quickly how to depend on each other, how to work together, how in order towards achieving common goals. So with the field holler as a type of musical vocal creation that comes closely relating to work songs, it was associated mainly with the African American music and with the American Civil War. So we can say that with the field holler we have said that before the holler was the only procedure or the only way that helps those black slaves to bring out their deep feeling. This is what about the blues. The blues is about tradition and also about expressing the pure feeling of the singers. So what happened? So we can say that what the changes or the influences that blues have made to the music, it has conveyed a new dimension, new aspects, which is emotions. So if we would take the structure, ethnic pattern of blues, we will notice that there is any kind of blues song. We will notice that there is the deep feeling of the singer, in which he can reflect his personal experiences. So
But
that's
it's not
what.
only about sadness. I just want to
It's
say.
not.
It's
No, it's
it
not
can
so
also
about
be
yes. Yes,
happy feelings.
yes, of course. So it's in general, it's about
Feelings in general.
yes, and feelings, personal experiences. So we can say that the basic structure of blues depends heavily on the 12 bar blues, and each version will have 12 bar majors. So last but not least, the music and lyrics of blues. I wanted to mention two an important idea, which is the lyrics and the music of blues are open accessible to improvisation, which will be another importance of.
Yes, so I think we can associate it, not associate it, but maybe it looks like a little bit like jazz.
Yes.
For example, when we have all people playing instruments in one song or maybe we can have the same thing with blues. We can also listen sometimes when we listen to blues, we can hear one instrument playing like in a real deep emotional way, instrument playing this way, or even people singing. That we don't have always the same way they're singing. They're always changing the way of their singing.
Yeah.
I think that looks maybe a little bit like jazz.
Yes, of course. So, last but not least, I wanted just to share with you one of the famous musician, who his name William Christopher Handy. He is known by the W.C. Handy. He was considered as the father of blues. He created many kinds of blues songs. One of his songs that you are listening to is the Memphis Blues. This song was considered by him as the song of the 1912. So it was the first of all many blues songs published in this era. So what it is about this song? It is an extraordinary instrumental piece of music. The musical structure of it depends on, of course, the basic structure of blues, which is 12 bar melodies. But the next version depends on it can maybe change from 12 to 16.
But the original form is that, the majority of blues songs are having the form of the 12 bar.
Yes.
I think it's going to influence either other kinds of music. The one I'm going to talk about. It's not the time yet because blues has actually influenced other music styles. But in the meantime, we had a new era with the swing and the big bands. And what can you tell us about that?
Before speaking about the swing, I think that we cannot just just limit those kinds of music from each other. They are, I mean, jazz evolved and new waves appeared just spontaneously. We cannot cut the relation between these waves. What I like a lot about blues is that it reveals a lot about the depression and the hardships, as well as the mishaps that the black people have gone through. In singing blues, they try to change their tunes from being slow and smooth to crying those field hollers. Okay. That those black people excelled in
They're still
revealing
revealing
yeah, what they have gone through, and it's really amazing to watch such songs. Moving to swing, it appeared after the depression of 1929, but it was there even before. It flourished exactly in the 30s and it finished in the 50s. After the depression of 1929, people wanted something new by which they can entertain themselves. So yeah, so swing appeared and it had a very strong relation to dancing. It appeared as an art by itself because it was related to dancing. So I think one of the main leaders of swing is the Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong. And we cannot, of course, forget Benny Goodman, but Benny Goodman is a white person who wanted to steal the
I don't know
yeah, the
why
leadership.
black people
And,
has always been the best singing.
but the problem is that he was nominated as the king of swing, but he wasn't. You see,
He wasn't?
Yeah, he wasn't, because there were lots of other black people who were excellent, but at that period, racism and yeah, they didn't want to be established.
What was so special about swing to make it that
Yeah, swing.
appealing to the
Yeah, the main characteristics of swing is improvisation, arrangements, syncopation. But here, syncopation is smoothly done, is different from the other ways before. And then when you hear swing music, you can't resist the urge to dance. Yeah. Swing declined after that because of the World War II. World War II was one of the reasons why swing declined, because most of people joined the army, and many people died, and many members of swing bands died. So I can say here that there are many other problems like the royalties, the tax, which was argued about between bands and companies. That was a tax that was argued about. Nobody wanted to pay, and there was also a strike of those music bands because they were recorded and the record replaced the band, so they didn't win. Also, the appearance of the jack box that took the part of the human being. So
even TV was
yeah,
a
TV,
threat. It's
cinema.
like, I mean, there were many things that made swing kind of decline in threats.
Yeah.
You talked about its death, but there is something I just want to make it more clear. Maybe you say that the formula of swing is syncopation, improvisation plus arrangements.
Yeah,
So,
there is improvisation.
Yeah, there is improvisation, but just in order to not to be confused, arrangement doesn't mean you because as I said, improvisation is like when you're creating at the moment.
Yeah, but here
arrangement is not.
I'm going to explain to you this. The improvisation in swing was done by one person, a soloist. Okay, so the other members were just like playing in arrangements, but the soloists can improvise, just like Benny Goodman or Duke Ellington or Louis Armstrong.
I think an arrangement is there for, like, swing was for concerts, performances, things that are going to be enjoyed by a lot of people. So we kind of needed an arranger going to
like 100%.
100% improvise. Because we need someone who is going to do, like the movie producer, who's going to direct the way the performance is going to be and lead the team.
Another idea here is that band, I can link it to the sacrifice and the Second World War. One of the things which is amazing is that the band works in unity and solidarity.
Yeah.
But after the second the World War, the second, this spirit died because they won the war, and there was the rise of star. And companies didn't want to record. They recorded just for vocalists, and Frank Sinatra appeared. Yeah, that's paved the way to Frank Sinatra to become a very famous star.
And not only that, I need to say that swing became so popular at this time that we had some music styles which were born as a reaction to swing. And one of them is boogie woogie, which is a heavily syncopated style of music, piano-based blues music. It's a blues. That's why I said that blues is going also to impact other types of music, and boogie woogie is one of them. It's kind of blues, and it has, as with swing, we say it makes you wanna dance. Also with boogie woogie, you have no choice but to submit to its mood enhancing power, its freshness, and its you can try to listen to parts of boogie woogie,
Don't
but
make us dance.
no. But I just want to say, as it's a blues piano music, one feature would be the 12-bar blues, of course, but it's also very rhythmic and with strong drive and sharp accentuations. And to summarize it, so the form is blues, but there is more emphasis on the rhythm rather than the melody, and it's kind of the boogie woogie patterns are kind of personalized, like the field rollers. And it's also create tension. I just, well, no, it is. The 12-bar blues form, so we have the 12-bar blues form, but it's also about that the left hand is doing the repeated fixed figure and the right hand is picking out the melody. So this is how boogie woogie is made.
Is there any feelings feelings?
Well, you have the characteristic of blues with the 12-bar measure, and also the emotion, because it's a mood enhancing. It's kind of make you feel into tapping your feet, into dancing, etc.
It's to make your emotions, not the players.
And so, just to talk about the history of boogie woogie, as you said, with slaves and etc. Now we have, like in there was a phenomenon which took place in the crowded buildings of New York, Chicago, and every city with a large black population. We had the house rent party that we called it boogie also. The black people needed to as you said, to work together into bands to reach goals, and one goal was to simply be able to pay the rent. So they used to organize some boogie woogie parties where the neighbors would be treated to piano parties, etc., in order to help the tenants to pay his rent. And they were kind of reciprocal, like, you'll come help me pay my rent, and I'll come help you pay yours. So this is another name for who will be the house rent part.
So I just want to. I have a question. Since swing became very popular, there was certainly some other music styles that became appears as a reaction to swing.
So it was boogie woogie, but I remember we had another type of music which was also a revolt against the restrictions of the big band. It was bop. Bop music was kind of modern jazz form which where it was more about experimentation. It was musicians who reached a certain degree of proficiency and wanted to extend jazz technically and harmonically. They wanted to kind of create like a complex or a very refined type
they want to
of
show
jazz.
to show that they are intricate in playing.
Yes, so, and we have here Charlie Parker, who is one of the most famous figures of jazz, who helped into the development of jazz by kind of complexing it. Making a very complex type of jazz, which is Bob. But the problem with Bob is it wasn't as popular as swing because of this intensity and this complexity that made the music hard for
any musician.
not the musician, for the general public to appreciate it. It was completely.
Yeah, it's strange that when people at first played music just uh, uh, using their feelings, the most important thing was feelings, to play what they feel. And they were not well educated concerning playing instruments. So music became very popular, but with the bebop, so the music, didn't become so popular.
Because it was more of we needed the instrument, we needed a kind of mastery of instrument. It was a lot more room for improvisation and experimentation. But we need to say that with pop music, it was a complete black invention, and they wanted to make it kind of an art music, not an entertainment. And it was more like to listen to, but not to dance, not to learn.
What made it that maybe hard to produce was the use of maybe the Flattened Fifth, which was for example we saw with the Mr. Journalist class you were in here. We talked about the Pythagoras theory of music when he said that there is, for example, when we have the strength of a guitar and we cut it in half, we have not two octaves, and each one can be divided into seven or eight parts, which are do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. When we have do playing with sol at the same time, we have in that octave we have a beautiful natural sound, which is the perfect fifth. But what these people wanted to make is make it out of ordinary things and ordinary, and wanted to make it sound original, and they but they used to use the flatted fifths.
It kind of diminished stress on
it didn't sound really beautiful to hear. What makes it maybe sound different.
I want to stress on the idea that no, it's the bebop,
the bebop.
So those people in the swing era, black people were not paid well, though they played side by side with the white people. So some black people were desperate and they left, and they wanted to create another kind of music which can represent themselves. It's the bebop, but it was not.
And actually, they used to in the big bands. It wasn't really the improvisation was not so natural, and because the solos were short. So if someone is looking for experimentation and something really technically different, it wasn't enough. So, like you said, they looked for smaller bands, and here we have pop players like Charlie Parker. Well, I think that with all these music styles, we can kind of looking at an evolution of jazz, and here again we reach, as we have got music, we certainly are going to feel kind of a response to Bach, and the response to Bach was the cool jazz, and modern jazz, cool jazz. Cool jazz was kind of characterized by the cool rhythm. It's kind of light, cool, and calm, and the main figures were Miles Davis.
Yeah.
It was so cool that even people would stop maybe clapping their hands for music. They will start only
Because it's cool.
it's really suited.
And it was a kind of with free jazz. It was we kind of aim to break the rules of structure and organization. We want to feel the music rather than, and with cool jazz it's all about feeling the music. And we talked about kind of
The old forms of jazz.
Forms of cool jazz, the fusion jazz where we have rock and roll with jazz, and the soul jazz with blues and jazz. I think we kind of can conclude with the fact that jazz is an extremely a unique African American experience, and that we felt that this evolution of the American society, and when blacks were moving towards seeking opportunities and trying to escape the Jim Crow laws, it's kind of the jazz also is evolving at the same time. The emotion are there, and and it was so dominant. I mean, its impact was so dominant in American society that in the 1920s was called the Jazz Age.
Yeah.
So
what's amazing again is the role of black people in shaping the history of America. Yeah.
These black people who were really
they have started everything. They were denigrated in response, so they deserve more because they participated in raising the economy of the United States by the cotton working in fields, and they worked so hard, and then that also they affected also the field of music, and they affected a lot of fields, and their prints are obvious in every field. Without them, I think that America would be different today. So it's really amazing when you see that amount of effort they put in.
And that's what's special about jazz, this spontaneity, improvisation, and all together, what makes it kind of a unique music.
Unique again because of
linked to the culture. I mean, you're talking about the culture and the music and the interaction.
And again, we move back to the fact that jazz survived for a long period, just because it started first not because of commercial stuff. You see, so people played with feeling, and then it developed, then it flourished. And it's one of the most famous kinds of music that exists on Earth now.
Okay, so it's jazz, and it was born from slaves and slave culture, and evolved into still the African American experience, and it made it what it is.
One of the everlasting
music genre. And it was a pleasure to learn about all these
different styles of music.
And that was our jazz conversation. We forgot to, we didn't talk about the
we didn't talk the jive talk.
Well,
we can say that we can say that our class was so jive, and this jam session was just a summary of the
because of
our canaries.
Yeah,
Cats in our head
cats.
But that was all the thanks to our
Yeah,
cats.
I think we have made a murder. That's one of that's one of the to make a murder it's to be perfect.
You wanna
Indeed, Jeep talk. Yes.
You wanna thank Mr. Mike?
Yeah, of course.
For giving us
That was
Thank you.
our
Thank you
magic,
very
we
much.
want to eat free.
Yes, thank you guys.
So,
Wow.
before we have
Yes, if, I'm just going to make a short comment because I know how hungry you are and I am too. But I want to say you have to just, as a person sitting here, my breath is taken away at the scope of what you're talking about and the fact that you're doing it and it's another country's culture and your understanding is so kind of, I'd almost compare it to Sufi understanding of Islam. It's a kind of inner understanding. You're not just reciting dates and events, but you're really feeling it. And you humble me. I am honored to be in this room with you. That is.
It's because of you. And because of your effort that you put while you are explaining. You also feel the music. I remember in the blues class.
Yes,
He was singing, that was
I
perfect.
kept looking for that song about his wife cooking for him and watching him. I loved it.
He said Amjad's blues. And
I could never find the song again. I tried finding it too. I could not find it. I was trying. Yeah, I know it exists on a record that was in a library when I was a kid in the 70s. But now the search is on. I'm definitely. Yes. All right. I'm gonna when we're eating, I want to play that Pythagorean thing for you. That is it. This concludes our final exam. We will see this on Facebook in hours.